Hey guys, and welcome back to my Leopard Gecko Agony Aunt series. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll link it here and below if you want to check it out. I feel we covered a range of topics in that one, and I hope we do the same in this one too. Now, just like before, I would like to add a disclaimer here. I'm not a vet, I just have almost 13 years experience with leopard geckos, and in that time you pick up a lot of information, so this is just my opinion from things I've observed or studied over the years. But if you are concerned with your gecko's health, please take them to see a reptile vet. And on that note, if anyone is studying to become a vet and they're wondering whether or not they should go on to study exotics and become a reptile vet, go for it. The world needs more exotic vets. But yeah, let's jump straight into our first question. It's from Ricky, and he just wants to know why his gecko shows no interest in mealworms. He's tried many different methods over the span of 3 weeks, but still no luck. So I think similar to the cricket question in the last video, it can be down to what you're feeding the mealworms. That can definitely change probably how they taste and how they smell, so maybe try changing that up if you haven't already. Also try offering a pupa, like my video on how to get your geckos to eat. Like, pupas contain some sort of like magical substance that like drives the geckos crazy, so maybe try pupa. Maybe that'd be a good transitional food to get them onto mealworms. I know when I first got geckos, I mainly offered them cricket, so when I was trying to change them to occasionally mealworms, it did take a little longer. One thing I will say is make sure you are still offering a variety of food. Make sure you haven't just bought mealworms and you're determined to get your gecko to eat mealworms and you're not offering anything else. Variety is key. If you can offer a range of insects, your gecko will almost definitely keep eating because there's always something it wants to eat. But as we discussed in the last video, leopard geckos can be very picky, but eventually they will just one day decide they want to eat the food you're offering them. So I'm sure one day your gecko will like the mealworms. The next question comes from MagmaCube101, asking whether leopard geckos need a humidity box for shedding skin. So you can do a few different things. For me, as I'm using Earth Mix Arid, it does require you to mist it down now and again, but when I see that the geckos are about to shed, I do mist it a bit extra, and it really helps. And I think the fact that leopard geckos need that little spike in humidity to properly remove shed maybe suggests that in the wild they do seek out more humid areas or something. I will say, and I've said this before, but ever since I've used a deep heat projector, their skin just comes off like there's never even like a little bit left. And I know quite a few of you have reached out to me, and since you've been using a deep heat projector, you have noticed a difference. I don't know what it is, but it really helps. But of course, not everyone has that. So other things you can do, you can keep a humid hide in the tank at all times, or you can put a humid box in when you see that the gecko is about to shed. Now, some people put moss in it, some use wet paper towel. I've just always used a substrate that I'm currently using in the rest of the tank and just sprayed it down a bit. The next question is from Emma. Now, she did have a few, but I figured I'd answer this one because I think this would help a few people out. So it is, why is my leopard gecko pooping on me? It happens every night that I handle him, otherwise he'll just poop after I've gone to bed. More importantly, is there a way to convince him to stop? Right, so for me, I only ever really noticed this in baby or juvenile geckos, or just geckos that were new and getting used to you. I think, especially if the gecko is really young, it can be just a change in temperature. They're still so little and your hand can be very warm, and it might just spark a poop reaction, you know? There's also a chance it just so happens that every time you pick him up, it's the wrong time. It's just when he's going to go to poop. So if you pick him up at the same sort of time every night, that might be the time he wants to poop. And I know you said that if you haven't handled him, he'll go just after you've gone to bed, which is really annoying, I'm sure. But since leopard geckos only go to the toilet about once a night, it does seem like bad timing. But I do have a few options for you. So, of course, number 1 is change the time you're handling him. Number 2, when he does poop on you, put him back in his tank and put that poop in the usual place he'd go to the toilet, because there's a small chance he's learned that your hand is one of his toilets, which is really unfortunate. So instead of throwing away that poop, even though, yeah, you really want to, put it to the place where he would usually go. Number 3, it may just be that he is still young and the temperature of your hand is triggering him to poop and he'll eventually grow out of it. And number 4, only handle him after you've seen him go to the toilet. Now, I know you said this usually happens when you're going to bed, which is really annoying timing, but if for some reason he does go earlier that evening and you can handle him afterwards, then that would be great. The next question comes from Orgel, and she asks, why does my leopard gecko go only to the cold side even if the warm side temperature is correct? Now, this question gets asked a lot to me. Often people say, hey, my gecko keeps hanging out in the cold side, and the first question I ask them is the temperature on the warm side correct? Because oftentimes if it is too hot or too cold, the gecko won't bother using it, and that's why it's super important to use a thermostat so you can ensure that there's a constant accurate temperature on your warm side. A lot of people insist they have a thermostat, but then they send me a photo and it's actually a thermometer. So we really need to know the difference between these two. The thermometer reads the temperature, the thermostat sets it. I know if you come from sort of more of an aquarium background, a lot of the heaters come with thermostats built into them. Not many heat mats or ceramic heaters and all that have thermostats built into them, so we do have to buy them separately a lot of the time, so just make sure that is correct, because that is a big reason why your gecko will be over in the cold side. However, if the temperature is correct, like in this case, my next question would be, is the cold side darker? Especially in glass tanks, I feel leopard geckos may feel quite exposed, so they'll often seek out darker hides to sleep in. So a cozy dark cave in the corner of the cold side may seem far more appealing than an open hide on the warm side, if that makes sense. I guess their wild instincts kind of kick in and they want to feel safe and secure and out of the way of potential predators, because if you think about it, they can withstand slightly cooler temperatures for a while. After all, they can brumate throughout the winter, so they can deal with those cooler temperatures for a bit, but they can't withstand being eaten by a predator. So hiding in a cold area for a little bit is better than being eaten. So if they feel too exposed in the warm side, they're going to seek a darker, colder hide. So maybe if this is the case, try getting a darker hide to go over the warm side, or using plants or even a background down the side of the tank to create a more cozy, safe feeling environment for your gecko. I would also like to say that Orgel, who sent in that question, is one of the patrons of this channel, so I think this is a perfect time to quickly thank everyone over there who supports this channel. So of course, Orgel, Nathan, Laura, Jezebel, April, Freddie, Pete, Sarah, Tracy, Sabrina, Emily N, Emily L, Kim, Megan, and everyone else over on Patreon who helps us support this channel. Thank you so much. Now back to the questions. So the next one is from Brooks. She basically wants to know if it's okay that her 3-month-old gecko is eating like 30 mealworms when she does the technique of allowing them to eat as much as they can in 15 minutes. Now, the thing with leopard geckos, like a lot of reptiles, they're opportunistic hunters. So say they come across some bugs in the wild, they're going to go eat as many as they can, as they don't really know when the next meal is going to be. Now for me, I've always sort of counted out the food I give my geckos, and as a 3-month-old gecko, which this is, you would be feeding it daily, and this isn't necessarily what they definitely experience in the wild. So there is a chance in the long run the gecko could become overweight, and obesity in captive reptiles is sadly quite a common thing that often is overlooked. Equally, I get that people have done this technique for years and it's worked well for them, and I think for a baby, you know, there's a lot of growing going on, there's a lot of building going on. It sounds like your gecko is, you know, healthy and it has a great appetite, so that is a good thing. But maybe as it gets older, cut back a bit so there isn't a chance that it just will eat everything and too much and get overweight. If I were feeding geckos mealworms, even at that age, I'd probably just aim for 10 to 15. So I hope this has helped. I like to show a few different options you can do. I don't really like telling people you need to do it this way or that way because that's the way I do it. Unless it's something like where you're putting the animal in danger or you're not providing supplements or something like that, then I get a little bit more strict. But that's because you're putting the gecko's health in jeopardy. But anyway, I may potentially have enough questions for a third part, but if I do need a few more, I'll post over on Instagram when I'm looking, so make sure you follow me over there. All my links to like social media and all that are down below if you didn't know. But yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe and make sure you hit that notification bell so you actually get my videos in your subscription box. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and goodbye.